my presentation away from it. But what I would like to do is thank not only John, but also his family, Ralph and his sister, because it is my impression that with everything that's going on in the world, whatever your views are, if we had more people like the Covellis in our world, we'd be living a much better life. It's a privilege and honor anytime you get attention. When you get attention from your family, when you get attention from your friends, attention's nice. And it's a privilege and an honor to be named Man of the Year, but it's also very humbling. It's humbling for a number of reasons. It's humbling, first because of the prior winners, who are titans in industry, titans as human beings, and titans as family members. Now you have people like the great Joe Clenard, right, who runs. I call him the great Joe Clenard because he asked me to. I also call him the great Joe Clenard because, like other people that are associated with this organization, everything he does is behind the scenes. I'm only here for one reason, and that's because of my great friend Dan Levy. I've known Dan for 35 years. Dan Levy should be Man of the Year of this organization every single year. All he cares about is people in need. It's also humbling because very rarely, these two gentlemen that look very good in suits here, they do what I do for a living. Most people that they come and talk to you, I'm a little nervous, I'm in public, I don't know if I can do this. This is what I do for a living. I speak. If you've got nothing to say, I'll carry the whole conversation. But this is a different audience that I'm talking to. What I'm talking to is people that, yes, we're very fortunate where we live and how God has blessed us. But I'm talking to people that know there's people out there in need of all kinds. And what we've decided to do, this whole audience, is we decided, we got to help people. And maybe we're so busy with our lives, with our family, with our job, with work. But if I can find the right place to do it, I would love to help all these different types of organizations. So to talk to people like you and say I'm Man of the Year, I'm not worthy sometimes to walk in the shoes that you guys have. And the last reason why it's humbling to talk, and I'm going to talk for about 10, 12 minutes, those of you with ADD, just lock in with me. The other reason why it's humbling is because of Pat Covelli. Think of who Pat Covelli is as a person. John did a great speech of the kind of person he was and what was going on. I honestly don't know what you people are like when life hits you hard, when you get squeezed, when things are tough. This was a gentleman that I didn't have the honor to know. I just know him through the spirit, through Ralph and through John. But this is a man with lifelong diseases, and what did he do when he got squeezed? He gave to others through his music, through caring for people less fortunate than him. And again, I don't know how you people are, because when you find out what you're about when you get squeezed. Right? If you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Right? Orange juice. Right? It's refreshing, it's sweet, it's nice, it sounds like something Kramer would say. Right? Right? It's a wonderful thing, but what do you like when you get squeezed? I don't pass all those tests. But he was Pat Covelli, and he passed this test, and in his worst of times, while all these illnesses were draining everything that was in life from him, what did he do? He thought about other people. And then you just take it from this inspiration of this man that you have a family. Everybody here is either a father, a brother, a mother, a sister, or a friend. And when you lose that person, and we've all gone through it, you can give me a 12-minute speech on that kind of pain. What did they decide to do when things were tough, when they got squeezed? They decided, the best way that we can love our brother, our friend, our son, and whatever the pain that is, I never know. And what we're going to do is we're going to help people in need. We're going to help people when they're at their worst. Okay? And I'm going to go more into this in a second, but they're helping severely ill people, especially children. They're helping people in situations of devastation. I have a good friend of mine, Jim McTighe here. He does a lot of work for the Red Cross charities, and I've done some things with him. And he took us aside and said, look, we've got to do something for these people, because when you help people that the Red Cross helps, you're helping them in the worst of their life experience. You're helping them when they're on the bottom. And that's when, you really need to help people. They also help our protectors. Our protectors, my good friend Bob Willoughby, New York City policeman for 20 years. Now, besides 9/11, there are police officers and firemen that give their life, and they leave children. How do you help them? This organization does this every single day. So, just as a backdrop, that's an overview. But, when you think about Mike Nardone, for those of you that know me, when I got a call from John, said, we need a little help. Could you be our Man of the Year this year? I'm thinking, you know, what are you kidding? Man of the year? I'm driving home. This is a true story. God is my witness. I got home, I'm man of the year. I go walking into the house. The first thing I did was go in the backyard and clean up our 2 beagles, what they left behind. Then I go inside, I tell my wife, I said, I'm going to be man of the year at the Covelli Foundation. She goes, that's great. I start thinking there for a second, that's dangerous for a guy like me. And I said, honey, my beautiful wife who makes me better than anybody else, I said, honey, am I great? She goes, you're very good. I said, very good. She goes, you're very good. I'm a competitive guy. All these guys here that you see walking around, they can tell you, I can act like an idiot on a basketball court than anybody else. I'm competitive. I said, well, what do I got to do to be great? She goes, you got to do 3 things. Leaving my limited brain capacity, I can do 3 things. I go, what are they? She goes, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to listen to them. So I said, okay. And then she said the second thing, I wasn't really paying attention, but this listening is pretty important. And the reason why I bring that up again, especially my friends, they all make my speech now is down to about 8 minutes. So I need you to listen, and I need you to pay attention, because hopefully I'll say something significant. Again, I told you before that talking to an audience like this is different for me. It takes me outside of a comfort zone, and we all feel a little unusual with that. And it reminds me of a presentation, another true story, that in fact Anthony Piazza was there. My pastor asked me to do a presentation to our church last year. So I said, okay, what is it? And he gave me the subject matter. I said, any advice? Because I'm talking in front of the congregation. He goes, just remember the 5 B's, brother. I go, the 5 B's? I take a 6th advanced public speaking course. I go, what are the 5 B's? He goes, be brief, brother. Be brief. So I'm going to be brief. I got about 7-8 minutes left. And there's a couple of things that I want to go over. Again, all the friends that I know, the one thing we all have in common is a love of sports. We think it brings out the best of people, and what you hear on the radio and TV is the worst of people, and sometimes in the news. Somebody that I grew up watching at the end of his career was an inspiration. It was a guy by the name of Mickey Mantle. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him. All right? But the most amazing thing about this guy was he made some missteps in his life, but he was powerful. He was fast. He was everything that men wanted to be. But at the end of his life, when he had some hard times, he realized what his life was about. So on his tombstone, it wasn't about 536 home runs, or running to first base faster than anybody else, or succeeding Joe DiMaggio. What was on his tombstone was a great teammate. A great teammate. And when you think about this organization and how we all try and live our lives, even with our mistakes and where we fall short of glory sometimes, what does a great teammate do? He thinks about your success and your comfort. What he also likes to do is back you up. Things are down, people are talking about you, it's not going your way, your teammate's there behind you. I'm fortunate to have a lot of those people here today. And when you're down, he lifts you up. He finds out where you are. He puts his arm around you. He tells you how well it's going to be. The Bible calls it being devoted to someone else's well-being before your own. Well, I can't be everywhere, every place, and neither can you, but this organization can. My mother, Mary Allison Nardone, who is a terrific woman, she told me a long time ago, and because I'm her son, she had to tell it to me often so I could find it. She said, you'll be known by the company you keep. You'll be known by the company you keep. I'm 48 years old. 35 years ago, I met Dan Levy. 30 years ago, through Dan, I met John Covelli. Because of John Covelli, you find what these people do, and what they do is they act in life differently than you and I do. Maybe you act this way, maybe you don't. What we all do is we all see the papers, and we all see the news, and we hear things on the radio, and we all go, you know what, oh man, that's horrible. I can't believe that happened to that fireman, that policeman. That's a shame that young girl, she's got a terminal illness. The difference in my life and their life is they read those things and they step in. The difference makers to people when they really need it. When things are at their worst. For families in need. Whether it's something like Katrina, whether it's something like illness, and when people are on their knees, and we've all been there at different times, and you just say, dear Lord, I can't take it anymore. What's going to happen? And this isn't some idle platitude. Here's some of the things of what they've done. John mentioned a few of them.